want to talk about the easiest way to make planters for anyone who wants to start making their own concrete planters. It is interesting how much of this plastic garbage is everywhere. I made a point of driving down the road where people dump illegally, and I found all this in one trip, and I didn't look very long. So what happens is they have this sort of damage, and it's dirty, or it has a break, or there's something wrong with it, or they just don't like having it in the house. Anyways, these items are all thrown away. Now, there's two ways to look at this, and this has a little bit to do with human nature. We kind of want to make 20 planters out of the same. We consider this a mold. This one is very suitable for getting it in and out to make a planter over and over again. This one here I wouldn't really bother because it's broken and it's got holes here, so it's going to be hard to get it out. So when I have the attitude where I'm not going to demold it, I will actually join the two together. So I'll join the cement with the plastic so it never comes out again. So what I do is I'll take a gun and I'll put a screw in there. This has been in the sun a long time, so it's really rough. So you get the idea. What I'm just trying to do is to get the cement and the planter to join to each other a lot better. Very fragile. I probably won't even be able to use this twice, so I might as well do it as a planter. Okay, so you get the idea. So this one is a reusable one, just because of the shape and the strength of it. This one we're gonna just basically make a planter out of it once. This container stays inside it. Now, here's the next type that is very interesting. It is a planter that has this really nice edge built into it. And it's almost 3 centimeters. So that would be a perfect cement mix. So if I made my cement mix go over top of here, and I take advantage of this rim, it's going to be a really good looking planter. I'm not sure this will ever come out again, but at least I'll get one really beautiful planter out of this. Now this here is really rubberized plastic, so it would come out easily, but I'm going to do a one-time use on this one as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm just going to make a little succulent dish out of this. So that's what you can find everywhere. I think this plastic containers are one of the highest percentage of stuff that ends up in the landfill site. So if we can reuse it, it's very good. So we're going to get started to mix these planters, and we're going to film it, and I'm going to give a bit of instructions while I'm mixing. So I'm going to make a mix of, it's a nice sand. So 3 sand to 1 cement. So there's 6 shovelfuls of sand in here, so I need 2 big shovelfuls of this cement. I'm going to mix it up a bit so it doesn't make too much dust. I'm going to put a little bit more. So I have a bit of a problem. This sand is soaking wet because it's been raining here all the time. So I've got to be very careful with how much water I add. So I usually like to mix it dry. This would usually take about 2 liters of water. It's amazing how far just wet sand goes. I don't even need much water in here. It's amazing how it just works really well. Okay, so let's talk about the additives you could put in here. You could put in a latex to make it very sticky, and they sell that. It's just basically an additive that makes everything a lot more, it sticks together a lot better. It's a glue, basically. The other thing we could put in here is a water reducer. Comes in little pouches. If I put a little bit of that in here, this would be soaking wet. It makes the cement need a lot less water. And the next thing we're going to put in here, because it's at the end, we're going to put a good dose of polypropylene fibers in here. And what I do is I always chew them up so they're really spread out. And then I push it in before I start to mix. That way they don't wrap around the mixing blade. I want it to stand up, so when I put it on the planters, the tendency would be for everyone to add water to this. But if you can make a ball like that, you're pretty close to where you want to be. Look at that. Okay, so we're going to start laying out some planters here, and that's the kind of mix I want. That dry. So I'm going to start laying out this guy. It is the easiest one out of all these. So basically, and I'm wearing gloves. In the last video, people complained to me that I wasn't wearing gloves. There you go. And if you notice, it is so dry, but yet it stands up so nice. Now, it's really important to make a connection from here to there so it doesn't fall down. It's not that easy. It just takes a lot of volume. Yeah, so I know that I have an outer edge here, so I'm going to cut for it. I'm going to go to clean up everything from the sagging. It's a little bit like baking dough. So now I need to dry this up. Even though I didn't add any water to that whole mix, it's still too wet for me. So this is good that you can see what I do. I'll cut around everywhere. So there's many materials you can use to dry this up so it doesn't sag. I'm going to use a material that is spread on top of concrete, very dry, and it will suck the moisture out of this and help me keep the shape a lot better. Yeah, so once you have the skin on everywhere, don't work it too much. I've got the plastic edge here. I'm going to clean that up a bit. Make sure the plastic edge is clean everywhere. A little bit of more gray showing here. I'm going to check it a bit more. But basically that's how you hide the container inside the cement. And when we demold it tomorrow, we're going to most likely leave that plastic inside the inside this planter and plant directly inside the plastic. Make a hole here, and that's sort of the idea, is reusing these old plastic containers. It makes the job quite easy. I'm not happy with the mix I made. It was a bit too wet. If I were to do this again, I would make it a lot drier so I can hand pack it a lot better. But the polypropylene fiber helps hold all this together. That makes a big difference. So that's how I make these containers into cement planters, and then you can basically either leave them in there, or with time they will probably be really easy to break out. So that's the idea of this. And you have to remember, this slope is the tough part. That makes it tough. To getting from here over top of here, this will always want to fall down on you. So you could take a piece of sandpaper and rough this really up, and that would help the cement to stick to this a lot better. When you're doing these, make sure you have somebody helping you. It's not that easy because you want everything to go quickly. When this starts to set up, I can actually come back and create the shape I want perfectly, because it gives me a better working surface, because everything's starting to dry up a bit. So you can push it to where you want. And if you made 5 or 6 of these at the same time, it would make this very worthwhile doing, because you'd end up with 6 or 7 different planters. Yeah, after about 15 minutes, the cement starts to get a little bit harder, and you can work it a lot nicer to push it up a bit and push it in, and you get a much nicer shape. So you have to be a bit patient with it for it to set up just a little bit. Be careful not to crack it while you're doing that. Okay, so it's the next morning, and I'm going to demold this. I'm going to actually just flip it over. I think there's nothing else to do. Okay. Clean up the plastic. Okay. So that's the finished product. I'm going to plant this. I'm putting a plant in here that likes moisture, so I'm not going to drill a hole for it. I'm going to leave it wet so it can grow a lot better inside here. So let's say the sun kills this. So this is in the sun for, let's say, 2 years. Then what I can do is simply peel this back, and I've got still this great looking edge on the planter. But for now, I'm going to leave the plastic in place until it deteriorates so much that I have to peel it off. So I'm going to start planting this. This is quite a deep planter, actually. Anyways, that'll give you an idea how we can turn these old plastic recycled containers into plant pots that will have quite a long lifetime. And we get to reuse this material for another purpose, which is really good for the environment.